Of all the professional athletes to capture the American imagination over the last century plus, none of them packed as big of a punch as Muhammad Ali. His greatness, his charisma, his courage, and his remarkable conviction made Ali a truly transcendent figure, an indelible superstar whose every knockout and every soundbite ultimately became part of American history. And 50 years ago, in front of 60,000 people in the former Zaire, an aging Ali authored arguably his greatest ever triumph in the ring, toppling the mighty George Foreman in a clash of heavyweights that some consider the greatest sporting event of the 20th century. By the mid-1970s, Muhammad Ali was already a legendary figure. His upset victory over Sonny Liston in 1964 made him the youngest boxer ever to take the heavyweight belt off the reigning champion, and in the years that followed, Ali would live up to his self-anointed title as the greatest of all time. He beat Liston again, albeit in controversial fashion. He beat Floyd Patterson. He beat everybody. His record through his first 29 professional fights? 29-0, with 21 of those victories coming by knockout. And somehow, Ali was just as captivating outside the ring as inside of it. His charisma was damn near unrivaled, and he was as gifted an orator as he was a fighter. They called him the Louisville Lip for a reason.
You don't have to agitate, the rumble is on. We don't get along, so we gonna get it on. And he thinks he's the best, so he's gonna jump in my chest. So you don't have to try to agitate and push it on no farther unless you want us to start now, and you might get hit in the middle.
Are you reading that off something? That was pretty good.
But Ali wasn't just an entertainer. He was also a man of tremendous moral clarity and fierce conviction. And he used his platform and his unmistakable voice to denounce racial inequality in America, to fight for black empowerment, and most famously, to vociferously object to the war in Vietnam.
You my enemy. My enemy is the white people, not Viet Cong or Chinese or Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
Ultimately, Ali's conviction and his refusal to fight in Vietnam came at great personal cost and halted his singular career in its tracks. For refusing to be inducted into the US Army, Ali was arrested in 1967 and swiftly convicted, resulting in a 5-year prison sentence and a 3-year ban from boxing. He was also stripped of his heavyweight titles, to say nothing of how the American public turned on him. And although he avoided prison time while he appealed his conviction all the way to the Supreme Court, Ali ultimately sacrificed 3 years of his prime for his beliefs. After beating Zora Foley in March of '67 to improve to 29-0, Ali didn't fight again until October of 1970. Months later, by the way, the Supreme Court overturned his conviction. The boxing world, however, wasn't about to reinstate Ali as its heavyweight champ. Instead, the now 28-year-old had to work his way back to the top, and it wasn't going to be easy. In his third fight back, with undisputed heavyweight champion status up for grabs, Ali went up against Joe Frazier in one of the most unforgettable bouts of all time. And in this battle of undefeated giants, Ali, for the first time ever, found himself on the losing end, with Frazier winning by unanimous decision at Madison Square Garden. The greatest of all time, the people's champion, was human after all. Still, despite getting bested by Frazier, Ali was undeterred. He kept grinding in the hopes of restoring his heavyweight champion status, and actually won his next 10 fights following the Frazier bout, going more than 2 full years without losing. However, his re-emergence was then dealt another setback, courtesy of Ken Norton. In their 1973 fight, Norton won a split decision over an admittedly underprepared Ali, and famously broke Ali's jaw in the process. At that point, after being handed his second career loss, a 31-year-old Ali reportedly considered retirement. Once again, though, he got back up. In his very next fight, he avenged his loss to Norton, winning via split decision in the so-called Battle of the Broken Jaw, the second in a trilogy of fights between the two rivals. And 4 months later, Ali also got his long-awaited revenge on Frazier, who had recently been dethroned as heavyweight champ by George Foreman. That was the Down Goes Frazier fight. Anyway, in their second standoff, Ali won by unanimous decision, landing more punches and power punches than Frazier, and ultimately positioning himself as the top contender for Foreman's belt, the undisputed heavyweight title that had belonged to him before his exile. But the Ali that had reigned over boxing in the mid to late 60s was different from this Ali. This Ali was older, slower, fallible. It was now 1974 after all, and Ali was 3 years removed from his last title fight, which he lost. And Foreman, meanwhile, was as formidable an opponent as Ali had ever encountered. Not only was he 7 years younger than Ali, but he was bigger than Ali. He was 40-0 in his professional career with 37 knockouts. He had just pulverized the only two men who had ever beaten Ali, and he was widely considered the hardest puncher of all time. Foreman was a beast, plain and simple, and the stark differences between him and Ali, physically, personality-wise, and also politically, made this would-be title fight the most captivating bill in the history of boxing. And who was there to make it happen? Don King, of course. He wasn't a bigwig at that point, but he transformed into boxing's foremost promoter by bringing Foreman and Ali together for this epic clash. How did he do it? He promised them $5 million apiece. There was just one little problem. King didn't have $10 million, so he had to find someone to finance the bout. And that search ultimately took him all the way to the Central African nation of Zaire, a former Belgian colony that had recently gained independence and is known today as the Democratic Republic of Congo. Zaire's then president was intrigued by what the publicity could do for his regime and his country, so he agreed to finance the bout, which would be held in the capital city of Kinshasa. It was on. The most electrifying matchup in boxing history was happening, and I bet you can guess which wordsmith came up with the name Rumble in the Jungle. It was Ali, who used that phrase in the lead up to the fight, and the name stuck. And after months of endless hype, unprecedented pageantry, and an untimely delay due to a training injury sustained by Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle did indeed end up being one of the defining cultural moments of the 20th century. All told, roughly 60,000 people shoved themselves into the 20th of May Stadium for the 4 a.m. local time showdown. Meanwhile, another billion people around the globe tuned in to watch on television, making Ali Foreman one of the most watched live events ever. And man, did those two legends ever put on a show. Foreman, the favorite, came out guns blazing, throwing haymaker after haymaker and landing more power punches in the first round than Ali did total punches. But Ali, the 3-1 underdog, had a trick up his sleeve. In round 2, Ali unveiled his now famous rope-a-dope tactic. Basically, rather than dancing around the ring and wasting energy trying to run from Foreman or match him punch for punch, Ali would lean against the ropes and try to entice Foreman to tire himself out with a barrage of ineffective punches. And Foreman fell right into his trap. Ali's deft use of the ropes allowed him to evade most of Foreman's big punches. And the champ's growing exhaustion provided opportunities for Ali to deliver vicious counterstrikes. And with the momentum starting to build in his favor towards the middle rounds, Ali, the consummate gamesman, started taunting Foreman. He baited him to hit harder and tire himself out further with chirps like, "Is that all you got?" And by the 6th round, Foreman had little energy left to defend himself against Ali's lightning-quick combos. By the 8th round, Ali was in total control. And finally, with about 15 seconds left in the 8th, Ali unleashed the combination that sent Foreman to the first and only knockout defeat of his career and made Ali the undisputed heavyweight champ once again. For the record, at the time of the knockout, Ali led on all 3 of the judges' scorecards. And just like he had a decade prior when he beat the seemingly unbeatable Liston, Ali, at 32 years old, had shocked the world. He had fulfilled his pre-fight prophecy of pulling off the greatest upset of all time, and his return to glory was practically unprecedented. Only once before had a deposed heavyweight champion reclaimed the title. And in becoming champion again, Ali found his way back into America's hearts after they turned him into a pariah. It also helped that the general public's support for the war in Vietnam had dropped off considerably since '67. Which is to say, Ali's conscientious objection aged extremely well. And for that matter, so did Ali the fighter. He held on to his heavyweight title until 1978, when he lost to Leon Spinks. However, Ali would immediately take it back, becoming a 3-time lineal champ after beating Spinks in a rematch months later, the final win in Ali's wondrous career. But of all those unforgettable victories, his upset over Foreman is arguably his most significant, because it epitomized not just the greatness, but also the resilience and the fearlessness that defined Muhammad Ali. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.